Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Keep It Down podcast. As always, I'm your host Garrett, joined by my two brothers and co-host Schmack. How you been?
Good, good. Yeah, I think, guys, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think this is our first back-to-back week of potting in a while here. So good to be back.
TC, how you been, man?
Doing good, and just let me be the first to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving.
Wow.
We're getting into the holiday season, man, and
Hmm.
it's just a really exciting time of year, really special time for the Curry household as well,
Hmm.
and probably for everyone's household out there for that matter. I mean, who doesn't love
Hmm.
this time of year, man? A lot more football coming this week. You know, nothing goes together better than Turkey Day with a little football on the side. So,
Hmm.
yeah, man, just really excited for the weekend.
Yeah, before we dive too deep into nothing, boys, as always, you can find us on Instagram at Keep It Down Pod. In our bio, you can find our link tree, which will take you wherever you choose to consume your content, whether that be TikTok, Twitter, all podcast platforms, YouTube. We have audio and visual on YouTube, so sure to go check that out. Um, but boys, nonetheless, what a big weekend of college football. I think we try to split college football and pro football into two little recaps here. So first, we'll start with some college stuff here, boys. I think the biggest news is we saw Jordan Travis go down with a apparent broken leg ankle situation. Obviously, they still got the win over Northern Alabama, or Northern
Hmm.
Georgia, something like that. And we did see that the committee also dropped them to number five. What do you think this does to the Seminoles in your eyes?
Well, obviously, it's not good because as we kind of get into a later topic as far as the top 25 goes, the committee's going to have to make some really tough choices here down the stretch, especially if some scenarios end up playing out. Now, the committee has always said that they want the four best teams in there. Florida State still has a very realistic chance to go undefeated and
Hmm.
win the ACC, but if you're talking the four best teams, are they still one of those four, even without their Heisman contending Jordan Travis playing quarterback? That's my question.
Hmm. Yeah, I think you bring up a really valid point there, TC, because here's the thing. I mean, we kind of talked last week about Florida State and kind of what our thoughts were about them. And on one hand, it's kind of like, okay, well, I mean, without their starting quarterback, who was obviously the player on their team, we kind of felt like they would take care of themselves and might have a loss on the on the season. But then, I mean, what if they don't? You know what I mean? Like, what if they do win out
Mm-hmm.
for the rest of the season? Like, where does that put them? Like, I mean, even as a conference champion, an undefeated conference champion, I mean, losing your starting quarterback, I mean, that's it holds some major weight to it. You know what I mean? So I'd be interested to see. I think that on Tuesday yesterday, those rankings that came out, I think it's kind of a tell where the committee sees them as of right now. So I mean, if this season needed a reason to get even more interesting, I think we hit it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously feel gutted for Jordan Travis himself. That's a brutal way to go out.
Mm-hmm.
Heisman. I don't know about contender, but having a decent
Yeah,
Heisman-ish caliber season
yeah,
for a good
absolutely.
Florida State team. So, and I mean, everything was in play for them, in front of them, basically. So, you just hate to see it, man. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of a tough spot because, like, if you think about the 2014-15 Ohio State team, I mean, this is the same
Exactly.
scenario.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
you can't necessarily just leave them out if they go undefeated, but also you don't necessarily just want to stick them in either.
Yeah.
So I guess it's kind of the committee's job in these next 2 weeks to figure out how much Jordan Travis meant to the Seminoles team, I suppose.
Yeah, and I think there's just a lot of big games left on the docket. You know what I mean? I mean, last week of like the regular season, and then you're going to start having all your conference championships. So I think it's going to get really interesting, and obviously we're going to have teams drop out of contention, for that football playoff. But we'll see, man. It's going to get pretty dicey, I think.
Yeah. Speaking of getting a little dicey, Washington, Oregon State, boys. That was an interesting one.
Mm-hmm.
Played in just the pouring rain.
Mhm.
What's your overall read? Did Oregon State impress you more? Or you think Washington kind of got stuck in that same playing down to their opponents?
No, I mean, at this point, I don't think you can say that Washington's just playing down to their opponents. I mean, it's been a pretty consistent level of, I don't want to say mediocrity since they played Oregon because they're still winning all their games. They're probably going to go undefeated in the regular season. You know, everyone will call that mediocre, but they just haven't been wowing like they did against Oregon. You know what I mean? They really popped up the screen during that one. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Oregon State's a tough team. I think Chach hit it right on the head. They're kind of a souped up Utah, or maybe like equivalent to what Utah was in the past. Really physical, run the ball type of team. And I think that gave them a little bit of trouble, but I think Washington was the better team. But like I said, man, just not wowing. They're still winning, but they're not really like putting on any impressive performances as of late.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Oregon State's a tough team. It looked a lot like a Utah game, like just kind of the way that Oregon State was playing. I think Washington just has this way of getting teams kind of right where they need them and want them, and then they kind of set up those big plays. And I mean, we've just seen it time and time again. It's kind of their one trick. You know what I mean? I mean, Penix obviously has an arm and he's accurate and he's a good quarterback, but I mean, it's kind of just the thing that they bank on that they can, convert on those third and longs or, when you least expect it, they're going to throw something deep down the field and blow the top off the coverage. So I mean, it's just kind of seems like we're watching the same game with them every single week. Is really what it feels like. It doesn't seem like there's anything new or any added momentum. It's just kind of the same. It's kind of just the status quo every week. And I don't know if that's just like their consistency and like they like to keep it that way, or if they're just like that's what they're going to be on the season.
Yeah. I mean, it's no secret that Washington lives and dies by the 50-50 ball. Even down to the last
Mm-hmm.
first down of the game, the little 50-50 comeback route to Adunze on the outside. And,
Yeah.
he may or may not have pushed off and caught it, but that's a conversation for a different day. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's really hard to define if, like Schmack said, if they're lowering or if they're raising their floor or lowering their ceiling. It's kind of really tough to kind of spot the difference there.
Yeah.
So, because early in the season they were, throwing for ungodly amounts of yards against like teams
Yeah.
like Boise State and like,
Mhm.
General Five school, but probably the top end of the General Five school. And so,
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, I mean, obviously, us as Oregon fans are thinking Oregon's going to be there, but um, I think I think that's going to be a really good game if it comes to fruition. So,
Yeah.
I've been seeing quite a bit online, and you can never. Sometimes you gotta like hate Twitter just because it gives you a skewed sense of things. But
Mm-hmm.
like, I just
I
saw
think I
this
know the
one
tweet you're
post.
talking about.
I know I saw this one post in particular, and it was like, if Washington goes undefeated in the regular season, they should be in the CFP no
Yeah,
matter what happens.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
They're
wild.
saying that essentially,
They should
why
skip
should you
it.
have to beat the same team twice to get into the CFP? And so I think there's a little bit of nervousness going into a potential rematch against Oregon. But, obviously they have the head to head win, which is huge for
Hmm.
them right now in their quest
Mm-hmm.
to try to get to the CFP. But all signs are pointing towards that rematch game. And I think everyone across the country, not even just Pac 12 viewers, are looking forward to that one.
Hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I know we are.
Yeah. I don't want to stick on this one topic for too long, but we saw Auburn lose to New Mexico State. Go
Yeah.
Aggies, baby.
Handedly.
Yeah, 30, 38-10, 38-13, something like that.
Did you guys
Mhm.
see the figure that they paid New Mexico State to come play them?
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
like a couple million.
It was $1.84 million they paid them, and they
Mhm.
won. Made out like bandits, dude.
Mhm.
Great. I mean, great for them. You love to see it.
Yeah, it's just rough duty, man. This late into November, and like that's what you get
Yeah.
for scheduling those teams on the end of your schedule.
Yeah.
If you
Hey,
lost
don't
to
worry though.
Missouri,
Auburn has an absolute pushover of an opponent this week, so they'll be fine.
yeah,
JK, they're playing Bama.
Straight up.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
then
super embarrassing, especially this late in the
Dude.
season. I mean, there's really no excuse. You have all the film that you need on the opposing team. It's not like they came out and shocked you. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like maybe an App State in the opener that always
Hmm.
comes to mind. But yeah, no excuse for an SC school. Not even like just a run of the mill Power Five school. This is like supposed to be the cream of the crop.
Yeah.
SEC losing to New Mexico State at General Five. I mean, nuts, man.
yeah, and then speaking of getting losing handedly, UCLA just dog walked USC for 4 quarters straight.
Hmm.
Chip.
Um, yeah, I mean, we were all together at one side of our family's Thanksgiving, and so we were watching this, and or no, we were watching the Oregon game, talking about we're like, oh, everyone's saying Chip Kelly's on the hot seat, and from what Twitter was saying, it looked like he was going to be gone by Sunday, and obviously Sunday has came and went, and we
Hmm.
still have no news on it. So I don't know if it's like catching lightning in a bottle, like Brian Kelly that first year at LSU. He beats
Hmm.
Bama late in the season. It kind of kickstarts this
Hmm.
whole thing over again. Or
Yeah.
sorry, I was referring to Jimbo Fisher, not Brian Kelly. But what's the
Jibbo.
difference? Anyways.
Got it. Well,
So, yeah, boys, USC UCLA thoughts.
Yeah, when we had this segment about Emmanuel Acho telling Caleb Williams to sit out the rest of the season, initially we all disagreed. But you know what? The longer the season drags on for the USC team, I'm starting to kind of agree. Like, what are we really playing for anymore? I think they're what 7-4, 7-5, somewhere in that
7-5.
yeah neck of the woods. You might slide into Holiday Bowl or Pinstripe Bowl. I don't know, something in that realm of bowl. You're definitely not
Mhm.
making a Rose Bowl.
yeah.
So I mean, at this point, what are you really playing for? He's gonna be a high draft pick. We're talking about Caleb Williams here. He's gonna be a high draft pick. We all know that.
Yeah.
But yeah, you don't want to risk injury anymore, I guess. So the longer the season goes on, I gotta say, the more I'm starting to agree.
Yeah. Do you guys think that Lincoln Riley's in a little bit of hot water here as far as his job goes? Obviously, he's in hot water because his teams haven't panned out the first 2 years he's been there. But do you think realistically he's in like his job is in jeopardy after this season and after the absolute crap of of what they've been through this season?
I just don't know how you look up after this season going 7-5,
Hmm.
and then you're moving to the Big Ten, which are every single school is built like Utah. And then, you got the big three that are perennial powerhouses of the sport. I
Yeah.
just don't know how you
Mhm.
go through what you went through this year and then look up and be like, yeah, this is going to go great. And you
Mhm.
have
Yeah.
no defensive coordinator already. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the flip side of that thought, do you really want to go into the Big Ten losing your Heisman winning quarterback and your coach
Yeah.
to have essentially a whole new program going, and you're just going into the Big Ten like, hey, well, I guess we're gonna see what happens.
Yeah, I definitely think that he is. I think he's in some hot water. I don't necessarily know if his job is in danger as of like if he like doesn't have a good like bowl game performance. If USC ends up losing like a crappy bowl game that they're in, I don't think they'll fire him. But I mean, if it starts going bad like next season, like I just don't know how they're going to keep sticking with this guy through all of this. You know what I mean? Just so like not even mediocre for USC standards, like just like a not good football team.
yeah, it's just like, what is the incentive of going to USC? They used to be, the cream of the crop. But now when you've got programs like Washington and Oregon State,
Yeah.
Utah, all on the West Coast, like, besides being in California,
Hmm.
what else? Like, that's where it starts and it ends. And
Yeah.
I know it's more complex than that in the end, but I mean, they don't
Right.
recruit California well. They don't do any of those things that USC used to dominate in every facet. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, it's just weird, man.
Yeah, you kind of look at what USC is versus what they could be. I mean,
Hmm.
what they could be. I remember watching that. I think it's called Trojan War. It's like a 30 for 30 documentary, and
Hmm.
they're one of their biggest recruiting tools was just being in LA and being
Right.
around stars and having Snoop Dogg on the sideline. So you mix that kind of environment with being able to play in the Big Ten and get a chance to play Ohio State and Michigan and all that. Like they could be a very popular spot for especially Southern California kids to go.
Mm-hmm.
What they are is just a lackluster program right now. You got to
Mhm.
start using kind of those tools that are available to you.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, especially if you like look in the past, you like USC always had like, I mean, of course they were always prepared for a shootout just because they played in the Pac-12 and that's just how it goes around here. But they always had good, stout defensive players and good defenses. Man, if you look at just some of the names, I mean, Brian Cushing, Ray Maluga, like Clay Matthews, like all those names, dude, like they all came from SC, Troy Polamalu. And like you just don't like no one wants to go to USC to play defense anymore. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which sometimes you need to win football games. Last time I checked.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, UCLA, USC's got a hell of a laundry list to handle between now and late August, early September next year. But
Yeah.
um, tabling the laundry list discussion because this team has everything in front of them, boys. Talking about Oregon, Arizona State.
Yeah.
Um, just talking about the game itself. I mean, Bo had 6 touchdowns in the first half. I don't know if it could have gone better, honestly. Like
Yeah.
just spotless, man, spotless play.
Yeah, like I said, going into the game, I'm a little bit nervous just because it's Dilly, and we've seen him do it to other teams in the Pac-12 already. He keeps it
Yeah.
close, and then they usually end up losing the game. But you never know if a team can, keep it close until the fourth quarter. I mean, look at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Um, but we really went out and just did our thing. Arizona State was the inferior team. We showed it on the field. Got everyone involved. I think Patrick Herbert had a couple of touchdowns in the first quarter.
Yeah.
Really spreading the ball around. Everyone looked great. It was just kind of a show out type of game. Everything was just clicking.
Yeah. I mean, I think for like the past few weeks, like of all the games that are left on our schedule, I was definitely thinking like, okay, Arizona State, we've seen this before, having to go to the desert. We've said it once, we've said it a million times, like spooky stuff happens out in the desert, with in the Pac-12, it's just how it goes. Those teams just play oddly tough sometimes. And I thought Oregon just looked great and they didn't even, give that a chance to happen. And I think there's a clear shift of like in the beginning of the season we were having lots of like issues with penalties and stuff, and we were getting 10, 11, 12 penalties a game. And I think we've really just kind of cleaned up our game, and it's really kind of showing, and everything's just firing on all cylinders, and there's no like hangups or it just seems like it's running really smooth, like a well oiled machine for sure.
Yeah, exactly. It is a well-oiled machine in itself. It's like it's controlled chaos at all times is almost what it feels like. Like there's so much going on, but yet like no one is confused about what the task at hand is. Almost in a way,
Mm-hmm.
like I don't know. It's crazy, man. Like the offense is operating at a very high efficiency right now. Bo's playing extremely well. Yeah, pick your target on the outside. We saw Gary Bryden Jr., the USC transfer, got a long touchdown run in there. And then,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that Patrick Herbert screen pass when you got JPJ and Stephen Jones out in front of him, man. I mean,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
good luck with that. Good luck with that if you're a DB and you got 900 pounds of meat running at you. So,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
but yeah,
Yeah, definitely, and I think that's just the difference, with Oregon teams in the past and like what we've put together. What Dan Lanning's put together in his 2 short years there at Oregon. He's finally starting to get his guys in there, and it's a different brand of football, and it's like
Mm-hmm.
we're uber focused each week going into the game. There's no letdowns. There's no like why are we in this game with Arizona State right now? Like, why are we struggling with Stanford? There's like none of
Mm-hmm.
that going on. Like, if it's a close game, it's because we're playing another really good team,
Yeah.
And I think that's really the main difference. And I think that's really captured in those cinematic recaps that we watch every week.
Heck
Is
yeah.
like it translates from the coaching room onto the field, onto the third down conversion. Like, oh, they're gonna run sticks here. We're gonna go past the sticks. Like all that kind of stuff. The game within the game. And as well as like I said, he's just got the guys focused each and every week, and I think we all just have a lot of faith in him right now.
Yeah, I think it was good too, like to be able to beat Arizona State like that. I mean, I know it's kind of I'm doing basic math here, but I mean Arizona State went and played Washington really really tough. You know what I mean? So obviously they had some stuff figured out that maybe we didn't have figured out the first time we played them, or who. I mean, and maybe every dog just has its day, but it just felt good to like it shows like some progress on our side, I think. And of course, you have a ton of people saying like, oh well, of course they put up 42 in the first half. Look at who they're playing. But then you have to like think like, okay, well that same team that we put up 42 in the first half on, like, is the team that lost to Washington because of a pick six in Washington in the rain. So,
Yeah.
I mean, they're starting to move the goalposts and stuff, but I mean, Oregon can only do what they can, and they can only just whoop on teams that are on their schedule, and there's nothing else they can do. So we're doing exactly what we're supposed to be doing. So it makes me happy to see.
Yeah, and then kind of last thing on Oregon that I want to touch on is just what a time to have Bo Nix leading this team, man.
Hmm.
We it just feels like one of those things. Like, there were years as Oregon fans where we were just down in the dumps for the whole year. 4-8 season in 2018, and then Bo Nix, Dan Lanning, the whole gang comes in, and like I don't know. I mean, whatever this next 14 days holds, slash, maybe into the playoffs.
Yeah,
Just thankful for a guy like Bo to lead our team, represent our program, and all that good stuff.
yeah,
So, but boys, we will be back to college football. Don't you worry, boys. I want to kind of go swap on over to the NFL real quick. Kind of a lot happening all at once. First on the
uh-huh.
on the injury front, kind of two different ways to look at this one. Joe Burrow out for the year. I believe he has a strained thumb ligament, something along those lines, and wrist or thumb or something like that.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
I think it's the wrist.
Yeah.
yeah,
So, yeah, he's done for the year. That's a big hit for the Bengals, obviously.
done deal.
Well, yeah, and before we move on, I mean, kind of the sub story to that is the whole injury report deal.
That's what I was just gonna bring up.
Uh,
Yeah,
yeah, kind of highlighted by that man Dave Portnoy.
mm-hmm.
But you know, the video surfaces like mid game of him getting off of the team plane or the bus or whatever it was, with some sort of brace on that wrist.
Yeah,
And then obviously what transpired during the game with him leaving and then being out for the year and being left off of the injury report completely going into the game is kind of a head scratcher, a little bit shady. It feels like.
yeah.
I mean, obviously the Bengals didn't have the foresight to know that he was going to exit the game, be done for the season, all that stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
when you're wearing a wrist brace going into this stadium and you're not even on the injury report, you kind of got to wonder like what's going on there.
Yeah, I mean, this one hits home. I mean, I lost both of my fantasy quarterbacks that I drafted this season to injury, so this one really hits home. But dude, watching that game, I mean, just that whole thing, and we'll talk about the other guy next. But I mean, the Bengals were kind of already like, I know that they've been doing better in recent weeks, man. But I mean, you got to think like that's their season. You know what I mean? Especially just playing in the AFC North, dude. I mean, that's a stacked division. Like, it's just there's so many good freaking teams, and like it's not going to get any easier for them. You got the Steelers twice on your schedule to finish out the season. You know what I mean? Plus Cleveland, plus yeah, maybe the Ravens one more time. I'm not sure, but I mean, like that's it for them. And I mean, what a bummer. But
Yeah, it does suck, man, when, teams got to play with one hand behind their back, but injuries are a big part of the game of football in
mhm.
itself. So you
Yeah,
kind of got to take that with a grain of salt. But yeah, I don't know. The whole injury report thing is just so funny because it's led by Dave Portnoy. So
yeah,
that just always makes it an instant meme, but it is pretty shady. Like, I mean, if it was a team like the Chiefs or someone, one of these A-list teams or the Eagles, it'd be like
hmm
a downright thing. But like, maybe slip down to that, second, third level of NFL team, then what
yeah,
happens after that. So I don't know.
hmm
It is a little suspect, but
yeah,
Yeah, definitely. And I think kind of the interesting angle on that is just like for the sports betting world. You know what I mean? If you're
mhm.
betting for, I don't know what the line was at, but if you're betting for Joe Burrow to throw 2 touchdown passes in the game and you're thinking about the over or the under, like him being questionable with the wrist injury, like might factor into your decision in some way. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
on his
So I
throwing
think that
hand.
obviously is what Dave Portnoy is getting at. He obviously, I think, picked for the Bengals to win the game, as well as he had a bunch of money on them to go into the Super Bowl, which was like a couple of weeks ago. So kind of irrelevant.
Yeah.
But obviously, he's heartbroken right now with the Joey Burrow news because I think he had like 68K or something on them to go to the Super Bowl. So he's
Mm.
obviously shook right now, down bad.
Yeah, absolutely. He'll make it back. He'll be fine.
Yeah, and then kind of continuing in that same vein from the same game, actually, we
Yeah.
also saw Mark Andrews suffer what looked to be like an broken ankle, maybe something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, and yeah, I kind of want to do a little side discussion. Here's what I
Mm.
hate about NFL Twitter. Okay,
Yeah.
not the NFL Twitter page. People who talk about the NFL on Twitter per se,
The
Okay.
like
experts. The experts.
analysts, quote unquote.
Mm-hmm.
They make this stupid term for something that is just a standard football play, and then they say we need to get this banned. For this instance, we're talking about the hip slide tackle,
Mm-hmm.
quote
Hip
unquote,
drop.
the hip drop
The hip
tackle.
drop.
So, like, first of all, what are we doing? We like it's a football play. What do you want the guy to do? Like, he wrapped him up and he slid down to his legs and tackled him. I mean, how many times that happened a game? Probably at least 10, 12. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's just ridiculous, man. And like, just to like make you like all these reasons outside of you're playing a full contact sport with other dudes who are grown ass adults. Like,
Yeah.
it can't just be that. It's got to be because of it's not safe. It's this, it's that, or it's the other. So that's all I have to say on my soapbox. But
No, 100%. I mean, it's just getting harder and harder as a defender and
Yeah.
any level of football to do your job and, you know, essentially to get the opponent onto the ground. Like at this point, like how are we supposed to do it? Because like the rules are getting like so the strike zone on the opposing player is so small and like the what you can lead with is such few things. Like there's so many different situations that are so fast within the game. It's like you you're trying to get the guy on the ground and you might not even be purposefully doing some of these infractions, like they just happen, you know what I mean? So another rule change would just make that even tougher, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, obviously, like you hate to see guys getting hurt, but I mean, at the same time, like I mean, last time I checked, Mark Andrews is a pretty big guy, and he's running with a full head of steam, and the guy's just trying to make a tackle. He's not purposely trying to hurt him. So I mean, and I did RG3. Thank you for all you didn't do for Washington while you were there, but I can not stand that guy's Twitter page. And he's already in. I don't know if you guys caught that, but he was talking about how playing on Thursday night is already a factor for more injuries and all that kind of crap. And then he goes into the hip drop tackle stuff. But anyway, side point. I mean, that guy just he needs to log out. But I mean, you're exactly right, TC. What are you supposed to do as a defender? You can't hit them in the head, you can't hit them low, you can't hit them when they're not looking, and now all of a sudden, like your hip can't touch the ground, like when you're going to tackle them before they go down. Like it sucks that he got hurt, but I mean the NFL. I mean, look at you literally go through every single play is reviewed in the NFL, right? Look at every hip drop tackle that's made, and then compare that to the amount of time someone was hurt on the play. And like there's your clear answer on if like it's dangerous and needs to be removed from the game. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
yeah, it's just a crock of shit, man. Like, that's just what sucks, man. Like, there's meaningful football being played, and still, like, you just have to talk about this other stuff. Like, in the off season, talk about it. Great, perfect. But during the season, like, let's just talk about football. You know, like, it is the season. There's meaningful football being played currently. So
Yeah.
let's keep it between the lines there, bud. TC, would you like to break this news?
Yeah.
Yeah, Steelers letting go of offensive coordinator Matt Canada. Some will say long overdue. Um, Obviously, something had to be done with the offense struggling the way it was. Has been for a long time. I think we are like the only team in the NFL to not have like a 300-yard passing game in the last 3 seasons. So just really inept, you know. Do I think it's going to be a cure all? Not necessarily. I think there's some really glaring weaknesses with Kenny Pickett.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, missing open receivers. Number two, he's got that horrible, a horrible habit of spinning out to his left whenever he's pressured. And you'll see it time and time again. Start watching for it during the game. Anytime there's pressure up the middle, it's spin and we're out to the left every single time. And he's getting sacked every time because I'm not the only one that sees it. The defensive coordinator of the opposing team knows it's going to happen too.
Right.
Um, so, I mean, there's other things going on with that offense as well. We're young, we're learning, all that kind of stuff. Do I think firing Matt Canada is the cure all? No.
Yeah, I mean, you guys, I think, are in a tough spot because I mean, you had the Ravens, yourself, and then who's the other team? You guys were all like tied for like first or second place or something
Bengals or
like that.
Browns?
Browns.
Yeah,
Browns,
Browns.
yeah, exactly. Sorry. Um, and so like you guys are all in this position where like you're winning games and you're like squeaking these games out, but like you're still in a good position within your division. So it's like, well, we can't really make any big changes, but I mean like a loss to Cleveland like that at the end of the game, like that's rough, man. You know what I mean? Like when the offensive production isn't there, dude, like I mean that's your job. It's your job to make the offense go. And if the offense isn't going and you're, franchise running back, is now splitting time with someone else and Pickett's getting sacked all the time and you're missing open receivers and like it's not ticking. You got guys mad that they're playing in Pittsburgh, which what the hell? Like you just can't you can't do it.
Yeah, I was gonna say that internal conflict is probably the biggest issue. Like
Mm-hmm.
whether it's George Pickens taking subtle shots at whoever, probably Matt Canada in the long run, but
Yeah.
like that's just stuff that you don't want to see as a program. And I mean, like Steelers have had this firsthand and saw what happened with AB and the toxicity and all that kind
Yeah.
of. Well, I guess AB kind of got out before he got real super crazy with it, but like they've they've kind of just barely dodged the bullet a few of these times, and so I think it's paramount that they kind of nip this in the butt before it becomes a bigger thing than it is, especially when you got
Yeah.
kind of a young core of players cooking right now in Pickett and Pickens and Harris and Deontay Johnson, and so
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, why are we not just playing Jalen Warren? Is my other question. Like I've said, Najee, like the guy, just enough, just as much as the next guy. But when
Mm-hmm.
Jalen Warren is in the game, there's a different pop to the running game and the screen game and all that stuff. Like I think some of that has to do with it as well. Like why is he not in there more? Like why are we so like I get that Najee was a first round pick like 3-4 years ago. But like if someone else is really giving us a different pop, look, let's roll with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, there's a lot going on for sure. And I think the thing that you don't want to get into is wasting prime years of TJ Watt, like
Right.
wasting prime years of Minka Fitzpatrick, like wait, JPJ coming on. Like the defense is ready to go. Like if we have just a halfway serviceable offense, like who knows what we could do. We just can't be 32nd in the league in offense and expect to win a playoff game.
Yeah.
yeah,
Especially in your division, dude. I mean, there's a ton of
Mm-hmm.
good teams. So
Yeah.
yeah. Boys, another news around the NFL. Darius, I think he changed his name to Shaq, but
Darius
Darius,
Shaq Leonard.
there you go. Released from the Colts. Kind of weird.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of saw some writing on the wall. I think he was hurt entering last regular season,
Okay.
and then kind of just some weird trans stuff has transpired since then. So it's not a huge shock, but for a while there, it looked like he was kind of the next breakout linebacker that we were going to see in the NFL, and then kind of see this whole thing just kind of turn 180 on it is definitely a little strange.
Yeah, definitely. I think the part that's really interesting is, trade deadline is over. We're past the halfway point in the season, and now all of a sudden you have a former All Pro inside linebacker available. He's actually cleared waivers now, so any team can talk to him, try to sign him. Is he looking to go to a contender, trying to win now, kind of thing? You're talking about the Eagles or maybe the Chiefs. I don't know what their linebacker room looks like, but. If I was the Pittsburgh Steelers, I don't want to spend too much time talking about Pittsburgh here, but with Cole Holcomb and Quan Alexander going down, I might be in the market for a former All Pro inside linebacker right now. Hint, hint, wink, wink.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I swear to you, if the Eagles get their hands on someone like that, dude, they just can't keep getting away with this. They really just can't. We can't keep doing this. We can't
Hmm.
Steelers would be a great landing spot for him. I haven't read too much into it. I just know that when I saw the post, I instantly thought in my head when I was like, hasn't that guy been in Indy for like ever? And apparently he's been there for like the last 6 seasons. You know what I mean? So I
Hmm.
really wonder what would have like transpired towards the end there to have not only. You could get. I'm assuming what would be a good chunk of change for a guy like that. You know what I mean? If you were to try to trade him before the deadline,
Yeah, at
you
least
could
some
get
draft
play.
capital or something.
Yeah, something, dude. But I mean, just releasing him like that, and now he can go anywhere he wants, like kind of wild. Seems like bad business to
Definitely.
me, but I don't know if the Colts have ever
Yeah,
been known for good business. You know what I mean?
yeah,
I.e., Peyton Manning.
yeah. Just weird stuff, man. Teams do weird stuff sometimes, and it might not make
Yeah,
sense to us. But I mean, we are also not NFL GMs, so
we could be.
I mean, we're just in the wrong here, boys. Um,
Yeah.
all right. Oh, TC, do you got a game cooked up for us, little buddy?
Hold on, before we go into that, let's talk about the Monday night game
Okay.
Okay,
because we had a big Monday night game. We had
we did.
all of us before the season even started. We talked about who we thought the powerhouse teams were in the NFL, and at the top of that list, respectively, were the Chiefs and the Eagles. And we had a little mid-season bout on Monday night.
Hmm.
How do you boys feel about that game and what you saw during that game?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Chiefs got or Eagles got the dub, but I mean, the Chiefs are really some key drops away from being undefeated this season. In the opener, we remember Kadarius Toney shit in the bed,
Mm-hmm.
um, and then
Yeah.
obviously MVS in this most recent time. But both teams are great, and it was kind of a slugfest. Not really what you expect out of these two,
Mm-hmm.
but these things happen. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of a obviously uncharacteristic rain game, so it always kind
Mm-hmm.
of adds a whole nother thing to it. Um, Rough night for Travis Kelsey, man. Had a couple drops and a fumble,
Yep, fumble.
so yeah, rough go for him. Yeah, the MVS, play to get in field goal range really and probably win the game. Obviously, was the backbreaker.
Yeah.
Yeah, just it happens to the best of us. It was in the rain, so I mean, you can't fault him too much. I thought it was
Yeah.
a good enough ball to catch, but you know,
Yeah. I mean, and the Chiefs are, I mean, I didn't realize it until they started talking about it, but the Chiefs are like first in the NFL for like drop passes, if I read that correctly, and they have like way more than anyone else does. So mix that with like a bunch of rain, and I mean, you're just kind of in for a rough night, I think. Um, yeah, I mean, I kind of share that sentiment. I mean, the Eagles look like the Eagles. They kind of just did their thing. I mean, they're obviously an extremely stacked team. Um, so yeah, we'll see. We'll see how the rest of the season goes. I don't. I just watching both of them play though. I don't know if we're getting a rematch in the
yeah,
Super Bowl like we saw last year. I just
No,
don't.
I don't think we are. Both looked very human.
Yeah.
Eagles didn't blow me away like, oh wow, they're really
Yeah.
just taking it to them or nothing. I think the big takeaway for the Chiefs is like, man, that receiving core is just
dude,
really lackluster.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Exactly.
wouldn't put it past them for them to really turn it on down the stretch here.
Yeah.
We've seen it time and time again. Obviously, Pat Mahomes has been to the Super Bowl quite a few times, made deep runs, if not the Super Bowl. So, I mean, I wouldn't put past him to, really turn it on. But when Travis Kelsey has a rough game like that and Patrick Mahomes has an off game by his standards, like that's what can happen.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, boys. So I do have a game cooked up for you guys. It's kind of a version of a game we've already played before, but it's going to be you two against each other. We're playing first one. We're going best of five, so first one to three is going to win it. Essentially, I'm going to give you guys clues, and your objective is to guess the player. So I'll give you one clue at a time. And you have one guess per clue. First thing you blurt out, that's
Got
your
it.
only guess.
Okay.
So uh, yeah, no two guessing per round. So
Okay.
um, without further ado, we'll jump right in here,
Oh,
boys.
quick question.
Yeah.
Are these current NFL players or college players or?
It's kind of a mix of both.
Okay,
They're really random though. So I mean, they're not too tough, but they're random.
perfect.
Okay. So first player up in Guess the Player went to college at West Virginia.
Tavon
Devon
Austin,
Austin.
No. Drafted in 2013.
Geno Smith.
Geno Smith. Shmai got it.
Damn it. I was talking my guess too. Mike said 40.
Okay. Next player up. And I kind of mixed the clues around to try to save the most like giveaway clue for last.
Sure.
Next player up. They retired in 2019. They weren't drafted by these teams, but they did play for Raiders, Ravens, and Cardinals. Went to college at Texas Tech.
This
Mike
is
Crabtree.
Yeah, Michael Crabtree.
damn it.
Yes.
The last clue was the Richard Sherman incident.
And it's not Richard
Okay.
Sherman.
And it's not Richard Sherman. Okay. Okay, so Schmog is up 2-0, Chach. You are in big danger here.
Yeah.
Got to get on the board. Okay. We are going to go with this player. Went to Stanford.
Andrew Luck.
No.
Zach Ertz.
Zach Ertz. All right. Schmog wins it, but we're going to play the last two out just for funsies here, just because I did the homework on it and I don't want it to go to waste.
Oh yeah, no.
Okay. This player went to Florida State.
Jameis.
No. They're drafted in 2003.
Oh.
They played for but weren't drafted by the Ravens in San Francisco and the Lions.
Whoa.
Played most of his career for the Arizona Cardinals.
Anquan Bolden.
Anquan
Oh,
Bolden. All right.
wow.
There you go. And the last clue was he's a wide receiver and not Larry Fitzgerald.
That's
Okay.
a good one.
Last one here, boys. This player went to the University of Oklahoma.
Adrian Peterson.
No. Drafted in 2010.
Sam Bradford.
No. Currently plays, he's a current player. He plays for San Francisco. The team who drafted him at this time was called the Redskins.
2010.
2010. He went to school where again?
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma.
And the last hint I got here for you boys. He's a big boombox guy.
Trent Williams.
Okay, the last one's going to be a tie, boys.
He was drafted in
Yeah.
2010?
Yeah.
Schmack, remember this from your draft game, buddy?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you see pictures from him playing for Washington, he's got like one of those old Riddell speeds on, man.
Yeah.
So he's been doing it for a while.
Yeah, and when he went out, speaking of Richard Sherman, when he went out there, Richard said, "What you gonna do?" He said, "I'm gonna punch you in the face." And I mean, little did we know, dude. Like Trent Williams, like now, not to mess with the guy, but back then nobody knew. And I think that's when he started that legacy.
Exactly right.
What a guy,
boys. So this is the latest installment of Guess the Player. There's been many versions, but you know what? We always have fun doing it, so I'm sure we'll make it back at some point onto the pod.
Love it.
Absolutely.
I won one. I actually won one. Look at that.
Dude, I choked too.
Boys, I do want to get into some college football playoffs talk because I saw a very interesting scenario that could potentially, realistically play out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of a nightmare scenario for the committee. I don't know if
I,
you guys have seen this
I
kind of
just
circulating
I just
online.
saw it a couple minutes ago.
So the thought is number one, Alabama beats Georgia in the SEC title game, and they are a one-loss conference champion. Okay, um, and then you're gonna have the Big Ten winner, either Ohio State or Michigan. You're gonna have an undefeated Florida State team without Jordan Travis, ACC champion. Texas Longhorns, who beat Alabama head to head with one loss, conference champion,
Mm-hmm.
and then either the winner of Oregon and Washington, for that Pac-12 champion. And there's 4 spots for all those teams to kind of fill in there. Am I missing? Oh, Georgia obviously is a one-loss, 2-time defending national champion. So you're gonna have what, 6, 7 teams kind of in the mix, and 4 spots, and all those 7 teams have legitimate arguments as to why they should be in that top 4.
So I think in that nightmare scenario, and this is like if I was on that committee, I think you have to put in the 2 undefeated teams. So who would that have been? It would have been Florida State and the
Big
winner
Ten.
The
of
Big
Ohio
Ten,
State and Michigan. Yeah, and winner
yeah,
of the Big Ten. So that's 1 and 2.
possibly Washington,
If they win out, yeah. So you have to
yeah.
take your conference champs. But
Mm-hmm.
so the last one's literally, I think, whoever they like the most and who has the better wins or their loss, kind of doesn't weigh as much. But I think if it's that scenario, I think they just pick the 2 teams they like the best and what
Yeah.
teams you like. I mean, I think this is completely biased. Maybe I'm trying not to be, but I mean, Oregon. Let's say they do win the Pac-12 championship game. Heisman winning quarterback. Like,
Mm-hmm.
do they get left out? I mean, I just don't know how. I personally couldn't.
Yeah, I think the real rub is between those. You have, one loss Bama, SEC champ, one loss Georgia, and then you have Texas, which really makes it
Texas is,
interesting
yeah,
because Texas has that head to head over Bama, but you're
right,
really going to leave a one loss SEC champion
yeah,
out of the CFP because of the loss
yeah,
to Texas. But how can you put them in over Texas after the head to head?
right. And also, just I mean, I know Georgia's a non-conference, but I mean, even Georgia, back-to-back national champions, lost one
Mm-hmm.
game, like they're out
Mm-hmm.
too. I mean, it's harsh, but I mean, you have to do what you have to do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
And,
then like, what if you even fold Ohio State back in there? Say Michigan
mm-hmm.
beats Ohio State. Ohio State has one loss, and then they probably to go with that. They probably have the best, non-conference win in out of anyone.
Mm-hmm.
So that I mean, just adds a whole nother layer of complexity.
Mm,
I mean, the committee is just hoping and praying to the gods that something similar to this doesn't happen because this will
yeah,
probably be like the first year truly that someone actually deserved to get in and didn't.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
we get anywhere close to this sort of thing, I
yeah,
mean, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
we're at 7 teams right now. Say we're even at 5. There's only 4 spots. So
yeah,
Yeah.
even if there's 5 good scenarios, someone's got to get left out. So I mean,
Exactly.
hopefully it doesn't come to fruition for sake of the sanity of everyone ever. But yeah, just that's a tough spot to be in if you're the committee. So
yeah,
Now, let's on the flip side talk about the most straightforward scenario
yeah,
would be Georgia handles business in the SEC title game, and we kind of avoid all of this
yeah.
pandemonium for
I
that,
mean, I feel
that
like the
3 and 4 spot.
I feel
You're
like the
more talking about like Florida State versus Texas or something like that.
Yeah. I feel like if Alabama beats Georgia in the SEC championship game, like it opens the gates to every hellish nightmare scenario you could possibly think of.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
that is going to be it. And if it happens, like hold on to your britches because some feelings are going to get hurt. Like it's going to be ugly. You know what I mean?
And I think it's interesting too because I think the committee probably likes Bama more than Texas, even after the head to head.
mhm.
Right.
Just gut instinct, brand name,
Yeah.
more trustworthy team, and Bama's really caught fire in November and late October. Like they're really playing well. They're in a very very similar position to what Oregon is in.
Yeah.
Yes, we do have the head to head loss against the team we're probably going to meet up with in the conference championship game. But I think the committee really does like us better as like a whole package team.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're right.
Yeah, and if you're the committee, you want it to go like this. You want Georgia to beat Alabama. You want
Mm-hmm.
Florida State to lose one of its next two games. They're out.
Mm-hmm.
You want Ohio State to beat Michigan. Michigan's out. So you got Georgia 1, Ohio State 2,
Mm-hmm.
um, and then a mix of Oregon, Washington, or Texas. Whoever wins Oregon
Mm-hmm.
versus Washington and Texas.
Mm-hmm.
If you're the committee, you want that to happen. Which
Yeah.
Right.
isn't really out of the realm of possibility for all of those
No.
No,
teams.
and it's probably the more realistic thing that's going to happen,
And
especially with Jordan Travis going down.
what about this? All of that stuff happens, but Texas also loses. Washington's getting in.
As a one
One
As a
loss
one
non
loss,
loss non
conference.
conference.
non-conference champ.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
either Washington
Well,
or Michigan.
well, who are the other one loss teams though besides Texas, Bama?
the team I
Oregon.
was thinking about was Louisville.
Yeah, Louisville's 9, so they'd have to.
Oddly enough, one
Yeah.
loss could potentially win the ACC.
Yeah, I mean Louisville's locked into the ACC game, the ACC championship game with Florida State.
Exactly. So you take down Florida State, and the scenario that Chach said plays out. And you're talking about, let's just say for shits and giggles, you're talking about Georgia 1, Ohio State 2, Oregon 3, and then you're talking about Texas or Louisville, probably.
Yeah.
Am I forgetting someone?
Well, I think if Texas, this scenario is if Texas loses.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
Texas wins, they're obviously going to be in.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, if Texas loses, it'd be between Washington, Louisville. I think that's it. That's all that would be
Well,
left.
I think the thing is though is the loser of the Pac-12 championship game, Washington, like they're gonna fall. It's just like the Big Ten championship. Like whoever loses between Michigan and Ohio State,
Oh,
you're
Michigan.
falling.
Michigan's the other team.
Like
I'm
you're
thinking.
Yeah.
falling. You know, and
Yeah,
it's
Michigan would still be in consideration for sure.
Yeah.
yeah. So
But
I
that's the
mean,
thing. If Texas, Alabama, if all those teams lose as well, how far is the question?
Yeah. Because, I mean, you look at TCU last year.
Yeah, exactly.
Great example. Great
Yeah.
example.
yeah.
So,
I mean, the thing is though, so Texas still has to play Texas Tech, and then they have to play. Who would it be? Kansas State, I'm assuming
Yeah,
again,
it's
because
either going
who
to be
else comes from that side?
Oklahoma. No, I don't think it's sides. I think it's top 2, isn't it? I don't know. Let me see.
Okay, so we'll have to look into
Continue your
that.
spiel. I'll be
So,
back.
I mean, Texas doesn't have a walk in the park. Texas Tech is a tough team. You know what I mean? Like, that's not a walk in the park game. I mean, I even think between Michigan and Ohio State, obviously that game is this weekend and everyone's going to be talking about it. But I mean, Iowa, I believe, already clinched for the Big Ten championship game on their side.
mm-hmm.
And I think they're, what, 9-2?
Okay.
I mean, like obviously, like strength of schedule, that kind of stuff. But I mean, still 9-2. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, barring a Oklahoma State loss in the final week, it'll be Oklahoma State and Texas in the Big 12 championship. Oklahoma has 2 conference losses, and obviously they lost the Bedlam game to Oklahoma State. So,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if either the nightmare scenario or the straightforward scenario happened.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a nightmare scenario, it's just gonna suck, man. Because there's
Yeah.
just nothing
It's
worse
all on
than
Bama.
someone actually getting left out, like deserving to be in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is. I think you guys are right. This is going to be the first season. Like someone's getting snubbed, and it's going to hurt, and it's going to suck. But I mean, like actually snubbed for a good reason, not snubbed like UCF snubbed. You know what I mean?
Actually,
Yeah, and realistically, I mean, it definitely can be Florida State, which is kind of crazy to say, just being such a blue blood in the world of college football to think that they could have
Yeah,
an undefeated conference champion winning season and not make it to the Final Four. That would be insane. But that's kind of the world we're living in right now.
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, I think though, honestly, it kind of just like it should kind of motivate teams, though, man. It's like when it's this late in the season and freaking the whole SEC is playing FCS schools. You know what I mean? Like it, like I feel like it kind of might motivate some teams to, instead of just playing those teams, just like fill your schedule with, another non-conference kind of thing, or like, a quality opponent late in the season. And like, I just don't think it does anybody any favors playing these crappy games this late in the season.
Or
Because
everyone
imagine
stop.
like these could be different conversations we're having. You know what I mean? Or if, the first 6 games of your season aren't just throwaways. Like mixing some quality games in there, and like we might not like be in these spots.
Yeah, like stop tucking tail and being scared to schedule home and homes with. And it doesn't. Not I'm not saying you have to play Alabama or Georgia every year. Schedule teams from the Big 12. Schedule teams from the Big 10. Do whatever. Like
Yeah.
just schedule home and homes that are quality games. And like
Yeah.
it's just ridiculous. Obviously, a lot of this is going to change with the
Mm-hmm.
conference realignment looming, but
Yeah.
it's just ridiculous. I hate how it's just a race on whoever can have an undefeated schedule. Not an undefeated season, just have an undefeated schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mhm.
it's ridiculous.
Right.
But yeah, I think we pretty much covered all. It's kind of crazy, like from listening to other college football shows and stuff. It feels like there's so many scenarios, but really it's just Alabama. Like Alabama's really the only
Yeah.
person that could throw a giant
Yeah.
wrench in this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I digress. Um. Oh, boys. All right. You guys want to hear my parlay I cooked up for us?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, give me
Mm-hmm.
a second. One second, I'll pull it up. Boys, this thing is juicy, let me tell you. All right. So it's going to be a 3-legger.
Okay. Nice
We're
and
going to put
easy.
20 bones on it for a $100 return, okay?
Okay.
First pick Christian McCaffrey. They have him on a half rush and receiving yard special.
Okay.
No
Okay.
brainer.
Risky, but
Obviously,
I like it.
the parlay booster. Next, Bo Nix and JJ McCarthy. 4.5 pass, rush, and receiving touchdowns.
Love it.
Oh yeah.
Next, Troy Franklin and Marvin Harrison, 176.5 receiving yards.
Oh, just the two best receivers in college football.
Yeah.
Deal.
So that's what I got cooked up for now.
Yep. Ship it.
Okay.
Jeez, they're just cooking up gimmies for the boys this week, huh?
Yeah, I know.
Just
I
giving
mean,
stuff away.
anything with like Bo this season has been pretty much an automatic hit.
Mm-hmm.
I think last week we had him and who was it, Josh? It was him and CJ Stroud? No.
No, it was Oklahoma State quarterback.
Oh yeah, him and the Oklahoma State
At
quarterback
5.5.
at like over 5 or something, and Bo went ahead and took care of the whole parlay himself in the first half.
Yeah.
Hey, that's the boy. He's for the people. He knows.
I got you, boys.
Yeah.
Deal.
So yeah, that's where we're at so far, boys. I'm sure we'll add another one. I mean, it's freaking Wednesday, and we all have like 4 days off work, so we got nothing better to do than just cook up parlays left and right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly right. Man, just what a tasty weekend this will be for football fans.
Dude.
You're talking about a full slate of NFL games tomorrow. I think there's NBA basketball on as well. Old Miss is playing like Mississippi State as well for the real hardcore college fans.
Hey, lots of fights in those games, though. Lots of fights.
Yeah. So Thursday taken care of. I don't know. Okay, and then Friday.
The Black Friday game.
There's the Black Friday NFL game as well as Oregon playing Oregon State Friday night. Saturday, full slate of college games. Sunday, full slate of NFL games. Monday Night Football. I think there's a Monday Night Football game this week. But anyway, so like, dude, we got like the next 5 days covered as far as NFL and college sports go.
Yeah,
Sure.
you don't have to ask what's going on TV because it's going to be some sort of football. Okay.
Football.
Exactly right.
No
Yeah.
questions. No nothing out of anyone. Okay. And speaking of football being on the TV, There's football to be played, so there's games to be picked, boys.
Mhm.
We have to arrive to our week 13 Pickems.
Yeah, let's get into it.
Starting out, man, just a beautiful sight. Rivalry weekend in college football. Starting out, none other than the game to Ohio State, heading to the big house, taking on the third-ranked Michigan Wolverines. I've been tossing around this idea in my noggin all day of who I'm going to pick, and I think Ohio State takes us back to the norm. I think they kind of erase these last 2 years that Michigan has had on them and kind of take us back to the way it used to be for the last 11 years before that. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm going to take Ohio State here.
Oh my gosh! You know the whole time,
I'll,
Chacho.
I'll go first
Yeah,
if you
go
need me
ahead.
to go first.
Good, good.
Michigan. I picked them. I mean, I picked them to win the last 2 seasons, and it's shown up. And I don't know. I understand there's a lot going on with that program right now, and they got everything to fight for. Man, they have like nothing to lose. You know what I mean? The most dangerous teams, man.
Against my better judgment, I'm going with Michigan. I'm going with Schmag on this
Let's
one.
go! Finally, someone's with me.
I was flip flopping the whole time Chach was talking. I going into the segment, I'm like, I'm taking Michigan. I'm taking Michigan, doing it, and then when he's talking, I was like, oh, because I just have these visions of Marvin Harrison Jr.
The
flashing
same
through
thing
my
just
head.
happened to me. Just like I'm back in the end
But
zone.
But you know what? I think overall Michigan has just been a little bit more impressive, especially of late. They're pissed off right now with the whole Harbaugh thing, and I don't think him not being on the sideline makes really all that much of a difference for them.
Mm-hmm.
I think they have something to prove, and like I've said time and time again, man, Ohio State is built to beat everyone else. Michigan is built to beat Ohio State, especially these last couple of years. That's their main focus. So I wouldn't put it past them to get it done this year.
Yeah, that's
I
going to
mean,
be a game.
hey, it's going to be a great game, though. I think honestly, the teams are a lot alike, and it's going to be a game for sure.
Yeah, like you're
This is
going
the
to
game
turn.
of the year.
Yeah, I
Yep,
mean, 9 a.m. Saturday morning, you're going to turn it on. It's going to be all dark and blustery there, like it is every year somehow. There's never any sunlight, even though
I
it's
love
9
it.
Mhm.
a.m. It's
That's
just,
football. Yeah,
it hits different, man. All right, moving on. Oof, this is a big one, too, boys. 5, Florida State heading to a sold out swamp, taking on the Florida Gators. Lose your starting quarterback. Florida also loses their starting quarterback. So this is the battle of the backups here, boys. I just think this is it. This has got to be where Florida State slips up. I think it's going to happen. Florida's been a very stingy team at home. On the road, they might, have a different philosophy per se, but I think they're pretty stingy on the home, and I think they will continue that trend. So I'm taking Florida here.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and pick with my heart instead of my brain, which is always a good thing to go with, and I'm going Florida as well
yeah. I'm taking the Gators too. Yeah,
for personal gain.
for personal gain, bringing the good vibes.
All right, and then for this game, how many points will they win by? Is my question for Alabama at Auburn.
But what if?
It's the Iron Bowl, man.
All right, well, I'm taking Alabama. Who are you taking?
I'm thinking of all the Auburn greats: Bo Nix, Cam Newton.
Legend.
Started with Bo Nix.
Bo Jackson. So you know what? I'm going Alabama by a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I have to go Bama. Have to.
Auburn just lost to New Mexico State, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I just can't I mean, out of all the great Iron Bowl games like that we've seen, dude, I just can't unsee the $1.84 million that New Mexico State just took home from Auburn. Highway robbery, dude. Mask off.
And their will.
Mhm.
Dude, I was listening to Hugh Freeze, the Auburn head coach, talk about how it's the Iron Bowl week and there's still a fog over the program about losing to New Mexico State, dude.
You can't say that stuff out loud, dude.
Oh gosh, started fucking laughing when I was saying it. Anyways, moving on. Yeah, Auburn's gonna get trounced. So, okay, Washington State at Washington. I'm gonna take Washington, but I think it could get scary Jerry hours for the most shooty outiest team in the Pac-12.
Yeah, Chach, you're exactly right, and thank you for bringing that up. These teams are very similar as far as they're
Mhm.
gonna throw the ball a
Lot,
metric
lot.
f ton throughout the game. um, yeah, I mean, if anyone's gonna be able to keep up with Washington in a shootout, it's gonna be Oregon, then probably followed by Washington State, kind of in that order there, somewhere in there. So not a team that you really want to get into a shootout with. I think it's going to be closer than expected. I'm hoping that Washington can pull it out, so I'm going Washington.
My brain says that Washington winning would be better for Oregon when we eventually play them in the Pac-12 championship game.
Mhm.
But my heart wants Washington to drop these last two games of the season.
His heart's with the Cougs.
Wow.
The Cougs. I mean, I have nothing to lose by going to Washington State. I mean, Washington ending on 2 losses, poetic justice. So,
Swing for the fences. I like it.
hey, swing away, Merle. Washington State.
Exactly right.
Wow. And last but not least, Texas A&M at 14 LSU.
I mean,
This is gonna be a great game that means nothing in the large scope of college football.
what if we see like 8 overtimes this time?
Mm-hmm.
I think that was this game, right? Yeah,
Yeah, went to
LSU
like
I
Texas
believe
7.
A&M.
so.
Yeah. So,
Um,
do we go with the team with no coach or the team with the fake Southern accent? I don't know. It's a tough choice.
Oh, that's easy.
I'm gonna, I'm gonna say we're gonna get an inspired performance out of Texas A&M. I'm taking Texas A&M here.
I'm taking Jaden Daniels and LSU, baby.
Stop it. After he crushed our 2019 college football playoff hopes.
It wasn't happening
Yeah,
that
but
season anyway, dude.
he's on the whole different side of the country now, so I mean, it don't even really matter. I put that all behind me, man.
Dude, have you seen the tweet that's like Bo Nix left the SEC to go play Pac-12 Pac-12 defenses, and then it says, and Jane Daniels was running away from Pac-12 defenses to go play SEC defenses.
Straight
I'm kind of
up.
dying, dude. But yeah, no. Oh, Schmack, who are we picking?
Yeah, I got LSU.
Mid. Does your family got LSU too?
Yeah, it's a great day
To be
to be a
Tiger.
Tiger. It's not a great day to be paying Jimbo $7 million every second of the day.
Straight up, though.
Yeah. So, boys, that is our pick'ems. However, not so fast.
The Corso.
We got the Civil War preview. They might call it
Whoa,
other
whoa,
names
whoa,
on
whoa,
different.
whoa.
Schmag, you're about to get kicked off the show, buddy.
Do what you need to do.
Get ready to learn
Mute him.
Chinese, buddy. Anyway,
So
so
the Civil War.
the Civil War is what it will forever be known as in this household.
Yep.
Oh, first of all, sidetrack. Shout out to Washington State and Washington, continuing the Apple Cup through 2029 or something.
Yeah, we love to see that.
Good on them. Continue it. I'd like to see Oregon State and Oregon do the same thing.
Yep.
But that being said, Oregon State, Oregon. Schmack, how do we feel? Nervous, scared,
I
lonely?
mean, always lonely, baby. You know how I be. So I don't want to say nervous because I am more confident in this team than I might have ever been before in an Oregon football team. As far as what we're capable of and the team that we have and who we have currently leading the team. You know, I mean, Dan Lanning is all time, Bo Nix all time, Bucky. The team that we have now is special,
Lucky for Heisman.
and I think we're yeah, that's my husband. I think we are doing a good job of staying focused on the task at hand, and that's the game currently being played. So we should go in, and I mean, we're playing at home. You know, I think we should handle Oregon State and like not have a slip up like we did last year. I think it'll just be more of the first half, more of the first three quarters from last season.
Yeah, definitely. They got that running game going. Again, they're very much like Utah in
Mm-hmm.
the past 3-4 years as far as run game and defense kind of thing going on. I think we are the superior team.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to be in the realm of like a 35-21 kind of, John,
Yeah.
somewhere in there. Like, maybe close at times, but pull away, get close, pull away kind of deal. It's going to be a great game, man. It means a lot to both teams. I love the fact that we're coming out with the Spencer Webb inspired uniforms, man. I think
Yeah. Love to
it's
see
going
it.
to be a great way to remember him. Is also to give the team maybe a little bit of extra motivation. Don't know if you really need it, but it will.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like everything TCU was saying, like, Oregon State's run heavy, this, that, and the other. Oregon State's good enough for 45th in the country in terms of rush offense, and Oregon's coming in at number 11 in terms of rush
Mm-hmm.
defense. I think the more glaring thing if you're Oregon State is you got the 76th best pass defense in the country, and you've got the number two offense in the nation at home in a
Yeah.
sold out crowd on senior night with the Spencer Webb uniforms.
Yeah.
It just, I mean, at what point are you like, it's a scary spot to be in if you're Oregon State. Obviously, all of the pressure of the whole universe is on Oregon, but
Mm-hmm.
it's, I don't think it's just going to be some walk in there and make things weird for Oregon State. I think Oregon's a much more polished product than they have been in the past, a much more complete package. They can beat you a lot of different ways, and I just don't think Oregon State is multiple enough to hang in there for too long with Oregon.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of showed that last week against Washington. I mean, obviously, Washington has a lot of weapons out on the outside of the field. Not too much of a run game, you know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
Oregon kind of, I mean, we have, great athletes all over the field. And obviously, Bucky Irving, one of the best running back in college football, you know what I mean? So, I mean, kind of just pick your poison kind of thing. I think Oregon State just, in my head, I know they're a bit of a stepping stone to get back into that Washington game, but just hopefully the boys can focus on what's going on
Yeah,
now.
and I think some of the task at hand for both Oregon and Washington this week is to not overlook your current opponent. They
Mm-hmm.
look into that Pac-12 championship game and the potential rematch. Um, that's really going to be half the battle there. Both have very winnable games. Just got to take care of business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, your Oregon State coming off a game where you gave it your all. It came down to the last play of the game, and you still come up short. And then you got to get yourself up 5 days later and go right back at it with a team who is, we'll call them equal caliber, if not better, more well
Mm-hmm.
rounded per se.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just tough, man. When your gas tank is only 10 weeks long and you get to week 11 and week 12 and week
Yeah.
13, like it's just really going to be tough for teams like Oregon State that are, you know, physical, tough, and all that stuff because everyone else is too at this point. The September games are over. The cupcakes are done with for most
Yeah.
conferences, but
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So yeah, I think it's going to be. I mean, this is Oregon's moment. Washington played Oregon
Yeah.
State 7 days ago. So if you go out there and put up a 45-17 on them, I think it'll put a lot of people on notice to what we are and what we've become.
Yeah. I think it's kind
Definitely.
of like best case scenario for us. I mean, obviously we want to go and we just want to completely manhandle Oregon State. And then, I mean, now you see like another like common opponent that they played. You know what I mean? So if like we can like put up a ton of points on them, like I mean, it's a ton of momentum going into that Pac-12 championship game. Like,
Mm-hmm.
especially just recent. It's all within the past, 2 or 3 weeks at that point. So I would love to go out and just do what I know they're capable of doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yump. Boys, well, that's all we've got prepared on the docket. If anyone's got any off the cuff stuff or random stuff they want to talk about.
No, man, I think I'm all good.
Yeah, I think I'm all good there too.
Cool. Well, then that is effectively going to do it for this week's episode of the Keep It Down podcast. Boys, why don't you say something to the people, huh? Give them something to think about over our Thanksgiving break, per se.
Yeah, like I said, just enjoy the full docket of football that we got coming to us. And also start thinking about two things that you're thankful for, because you never know when your family's going to
Mm.
call upon you to stand up and go round robin around the table and discuss what you are thankful for. So start thinking about that stuff now. You know, if you get called upon, you're ready to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I mean, I just piece of advice, just fellows and fellas, just be where you are. You know what I mean? Lots of travel. Don't know where everyone's going for their holidays. Make sure you keep it safe. Um, but enjoy where you're at. Enjoy the time with the people that you have there when you got them there. That's my
Mhm.
piece of advice.
Look at that. Be where your feet are.
Be where your feet
What
are.
a line out of schmag. Yeah, well, that's it for us, boys. We'll see you after the old Thanksgiving break, bud. Conference
Mm-hmm.
championship Saturday, per se. So
Absolutely.
sure to check back in. It'll be a banger as per usual. Take
Yep.
care, brush your hair. Later.